Okay, buckle up because today we're doing something that absolutely nobody asked for, but everybody secretly needs. A full descending list of the top 10 kids in movies who fully, completely, absolutely deserve to be gone. Not because we're heartless, but because these fictional children brought more chaos, stress, danger, screaming, stupidity, and cosmic-level inconvenience than any apocalyptic villain ever could. So let's slide into this like a T-Rex into a badly timed flashlight rave. Starting at number 10 with Robbie from War of the Worlds, the human embodiment of I want to be involved. Because while the entire planet is being invaded by tripod spider machines that vaporize anything with a pulse, this boy looked at the alien war and said, "Actually, I think I'd like to join the combat." Like he was trying to enlist in the extraterrestrial army, dragging his family toward explosions, ignoring all pleas to stay safe, sprinting toward military tanks like Let Me In, and genuinely believing he could contribute something other than emotional stress. Robbie is the kind of kid who, if zombies broke into the house, would open the door just to debate them, and the absolute shamelessness with which he kept chasing danger had his dad losing hair on screen. Because every survival rule Tom Cruise tried to teach him, Robbie threw in the trash and replaced with run toward the loud, scary things, which is how he accidentally speedran the fake hero complex category of existence, and every viewer collectively agreed that if aliens abducted him mid-rant, the film would have been 30 minutes shorter and 70% less stressful. Moving on to number 9, Marcus from A Quiet Place Part 2, who somehow managed to be both sympathetic and the absolute definition of, I swear if you make one more sound. Because look, I get it. He's a kid living in a world where deadly creatures hunt by sound. But Marcus acted like silence was optional, not mandatory, starting with the bear trap scene where he stepped into it and delivered a scream so loud it probably registered on NASA equipment. Which, okay, understandable, bear traps hurt. But sir, this is a sound-sensitive alien apocalypse. We need you to at least try to whisper your agony. But nope, he screamed like the trap insulted his ancestors, summoning monsters like a demonic dinner bell. And then later, my boy decided to use the baby's oxygen supply like that infant wasn't already on hard mode. Which is wild because the entire point of the oxygen tank was don't let the baby suffocate. And Marcus said counterpoint, I'm stressed, and inhaled it like it was a Capri Sun. Not to mention how often he panicked loudly, hyperventilated loudly, whimpered loudly, proving once again that he has the stealth abilities of a malfunctioning leaf blower. But we'll come back to his decisions in therapy. Because at number 8 we have Lex Murphy from Jurassic Park, the girl whose entire contribution to paleontological history was screaming louder than any dinosaur in the franchise and waving a flashlight during a T-Rex attack like she was trying to host a rave in the middle of a life-threatening prehistoric nightmare. Lex wasn't just scared. She unleashed theatrical, Broadway-level screams every 5 minutes, full surround sound, Dolby Atmos shrieks that made even velociraptors pause like, is that necessary? And of course the iconic flashlight moment where she waved it around inside the car while the T-Rex was literally sniffing them, turning it into a Jurassic disco party, and thereby almost getting everyone eaten. And honestly, if dinosaurs could vote, they would have voted her off the island immediately. Her anxiety was valid, but her survival instincts were not, and her lungs deserve recognition for outperforming the movie's sound design budget. Now from a screaming machine to a chaos machine, we slide to number 7. Melvin from Tremors, the prankster menace who treated a giant underground worm. Apocalypse like it was a summer camp with unlimited prank opportunities, because while everyone else was trying to not get swallowed whole by multi-ton sand serpents with razor teeth, Melvin was out here yelling, "Help!" as a joke, pretending he was being attacked, jumping around corners, faking emergencies, and pulling pranks so relentlessly that when he finally got grabbed for real, nobody rushed to help because the whole town was like, finally, karma. And if we're being honest, Melvin contributed more psychological damage to that group than the actual graboids, because every time someone heard him scream, their stress levels skyrocketed just to find out he was laughing. And I promise you, if anyone deserved a light tossing into a monster's mouth as a learning experience, it was this boy. But speaking of badly timed bodily needs, we march to number 6, the boy who needed to pee from prey. This kid deserves his own survival documentary titled, How to Get Your Family Killed in 3 Easy Steps. Because imagine this, you're trapped in the middle of lion country. Your car is basically a metal lunchbox surrounded by starving cats, and everyone is whispering, breathing slow, staying completely still. But then this kid suddenly hits them with, I need to pee. Not quietly, not subtly, loud enough that even the lions probably rolled their eyes. The whole group has to stop, stress levels at 1,000, because this boy decides that hydration cycled survival. And the worst part, he's fumbling, taking his time, moving around like they're not literally being hunted. Every sound he makes is practically an all-you-can-eat buffet open announcement to the lions prowling outside. It's the kind of moment where you don't blame the animals, you blame the bladder. Number 5. The boy with the coin from Final Destination. Bloodlines, the kid who picked up a shiny coin like it was a Pokemon item and unintentionally triggered a whole chain reaction of doom. Because this movie universe runs on butterfly effects, and somehow this child decided to flip, drop, and fumble a coin in the exact wrong place at the exact wrong time, sending the universe into, you know what? Tragedy speedrun mode activated. And even though he didn't mean to cause chaos, the laws of the Final Destination world don't care. One misplaced coin equals explosions, electrocutions, impalements, and more disaster than a malfunctioning amusement park ride. All because a kid couldn't sit still, hold things properly, or resist the urge to play with gravity. And honestly, if death has a complaint box, that coin is framed inside it. Sliding into number 4, we have the tiny eternal nightmare. Herself Claudia from Interview with the Vampire, the immortal child vampire who started as a sweet little orphan and evolved into the CEO of petty murder. Because living eternally trapped in a child's body made her angrier than any therapist could handle, leading her to manipulate, deceive, murder, and scheme like she was running a centuries-old crime syndicate, plotting against her vampire dads with the seriousness of a disgruntled intern planning a coup. And every time she tilted her head, or smiled innocently, you just knew someone was about to lose blood. And honestly, Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise did not deserve the emotional labor of parenting an immortal Victorian demon doll with abandonment issues. On to number 3. Lilith from Case 39, the little girl who looked adorable on the outside, but was actually a straight-up demonic entity with supernatural manipulation skills, able to twist minds, fake innocence, alter reality, and psychologically torment adults like she was auditioning for the role of child villain of the decade. And every time she said, "Please don't leave me," the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees, and I swear even the soundtrack backed away slowly, because this was not a child. This was a cursed voicemail from the underworld, and everything she did, every stare, every whisper, every smile, screamed, "I am the downfall of society," making her one of the most terrifying children ever put on screen. But speaking of children who should have come with warning labels, let's glide into number 2 with Brandon Breyer from Brightburn, the evil Superman child who crash-landed on Earth and immediately became the patron saint of absolutely not, using his powers not for good but for unhinged carnage, stalking classmates, hovering in dark corners like a demonic drone, drawing symbols everywhere, eviscerating people with laser vision, terrorizing his parents, and escalating from troubled child to planetary-level threat, faster than you can say. Maybe we should call the Justice League. And the way he looked at people with that dead-eyed, "I've already imagined your funeral," expression was enough to make even the Predator retire, because Brandon wasn't just dangerous. He was the entire genre of danger condensed into one preteen. But finally, we reach the undisputed champion, the number 1 spot, the child who caused more emotional, psychological, narrative, and cosmic-level devastation without powers, without demons, without aliens. The girl who committed a war crime made entirely out of lies, Bryony Tallis from Atonement, the greatest unintentional villain in cinematic history. The girl who witnessed a moment she did not understand, let jealousy, and imagination twisted into a fabricated accusation, and then confidently delivered that lie like she was submitting a school project, ruining the lives of Cecilia and Robbie, sending Robbie to prison, and then war, fracturing relationships, causing generational trauma, and then, writing it all down years later like it was her creative little novel, like, "Oopsie, I just destroyed souls, but here's my artistic interpretation." And the worst part is she spent her entire life trying to convince herself she did something noble, when really she just detonated 2 innocent lives with the power of imagination and guilt, proving once and for all that you don't need superpowers, demonic energy, or a predator hunting party to be the ultimate cinematic menace. Sometimes all you need is one jealous child with a typewriter and a complete lack of self-awareness. And that is why Bryony sits triumphantly, disastrously, irrevocably at number 1.